the moment we got the call from the Museum of Modern Art in PS1 that we invited to participate in the Young Architects competition, we knew that we are up for an incredible ride. Because what the MOMA PS1 is doing, it actually makes you the client yourself. And there's just three things you have to do. You have to create shade against the sun, fun for the people, and you have to do something really relevant in the realm of architecture. And that sounds obviously not very easy. What we started with was we made research into all winners and losers of the last 13 years that have participated in that competition. And we looked into what were the decisions that the jury cast onto the different kind of proposal. And we found out that actually the jury always decided on the most extreme of what was done the year before. So by looking into what happened in the last couple of years was that actually now, especially in 2011, with Interborough, there was something extremely social and interactive with the community, but something not kind of formless in a way. So we knew that we have to create something that is very strong in form and very much performative in its own kind of interactivity. So we started out with a very simple cube. And in this case, this is a cube out of ice, and it melts in the sun. And we took the next cube, and we bounced into it, and we activated it, and warped it, and used different kinds of materials. And then we shredded the cube with all kinds of different technologies and techniques. Then we cast people into the proximity of the cube, and we traced the people. Then we added water to it, different programs to it, all kinds of things. And it kind of became a kind of exercise of excess, because we believe, actually, that sometimes creativity is about exhaustion. And this exhaustion you see here, where we ran through 100 different ideas, which were first started with the cube, but then we engaged actually with the architecture around us, with the walls of the museum from MOMA PS1. And we went through all kinds of different iterations that were in our minds and in our drawing boards. And we came up at a certain point with kind of different principles we became more and more interested in. And these principles, we looked into more depth to really test them to the max if they would be able to hold up towards our own wants and desires for this project. For example, the kind of interactive gaming cube parceled into little cubes which could become seating devices, and we spreaded them around all over the courtyard, interactive for people to recreate their own kind of architectural environment. But we realized it's actually much too PC in itself, because it just occupied the floor that we really wanted to use. Then we used the floor, we created this kind of great slanted kind of new datum, and it could pop up and reveal different kind of programs and make people curious to engage with it. But remember, there was something about sun and shade. Oh, that didn't really work out. Well, let's try it again. So now we're starting with kind of a shading device where we just put the structure from one wall to the other one. We have textiles we can pull down into the courtyard, create really interesting spaces. But it became kind of repressing and kind of too dense within, and had no kind of iconic feel. So we were super excited when we said, like, well, let's make the kind of ceiling a little bit smaller. We call it actually the Twitter cloud, because we envisioned the kind of interactivity with the global kind of community. It rains when people are sad and becomes kind of happy when people are happy. But it was so much more about technology, not about architecture. So that when we come up with a mega wall, which became finally a shading device that is not a roof, it actually just follows the sun kind of motion. We were super excited, but it was just a shade. It was nothing else that really kind of triggered like more kind of activities within. And then there is the dense, volumetric shading device. And we became super excited, and we call it the monster. Because we were able to use kind of three-dimensional super truss to create the most spectacular form that we wanted to sculpt and bring into the courtyard. But at the moment our cost calculation came together, it was like 10 times over budget. And now we found out, well, let's use scaffolding system, yeah, and that is really cheap, and we can do exactly the same thing, create the monster again, looks a little bit more kind of blocky and a little bit more banal, not so interactive. And the moment the structural engineers came back to us, we're like, wait. And we were like, fuck. 2 months in, 10 more days to go, and we have failed to come up with the killer architectural application. We didn't know what to do. And we went back to the 100 ideas, and we put up the key components we had fallen in love with. The cube, the stretchable material, the interactivity, then also the dimension of the big mega wall, the structural system of the scaffolding system, and also the emotional and iconic quality of the monster. And at 4 o'clock in the morning, we had this one sketch in our hands, which meant everything for us. It united all the different bits and pieces we had thought about it before, but could not bring into one big context. And 4 hours later, at 8 a.m. in the morning, after working through the night, this computer rendering was on our screens. And the moment we brought in everyone from the office, we knew that we were able now to provide for this competition something that really is meaningful for our own praxis and really created something different, what we didn't expect. So it's a frantic kind of last couple of moments. We put the whole office to work. We made research into titanium nanoparticles, built models, and created a video that started to really capture the whole kind of dimension of the project. And at that moment, we realized that creativity is sometimes about exhaustion, and the one idea beyond that. Thank you.